Hello and welcome to everyone listening to the Written Melanin Podcast, the place where you come to get your weekly dose of melanated creativity. I'm your host, C.M. Lockhart, an author of fantasy books featuring Black girls who aren't all that nice, and the owner of the Melanin Library, an online database of books written by Black authors. And in this space, I invite you to listen to the journeys of Black authors with the hope that you'll gain something from it. I'm glad that you are here. Today, you guys, I am here with K.R.S. McEntire. She hails from the generation that dashed through platform 9 3/4, fell in love with vegetarian vampires and motorcycle riding werewolves, and helped take down a corrupt government during the Hunger Games. Her sorting hat placed her in Griffin Puff, which she is convinced is a thing, and with a background in journalism and public relations, K.R.S. McEntire is always sharing stories. She runs the Facebook page Diverse Books with Magic, where she promotes diversity in speculative fiction, and she lives in Indianapolis with her husband and 2 sons, and you can connect with her online at KRSMcEntire.com, which you guys know will be the link in the place wherever you are listening to this episode at. And KRS, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you could make it. So for those of you tuning into this episode, a little bit of context. K.R.S. McEntire and I have been mutuals online basically since I started doing the Melanin Library. I think that's where I first encountered you. And I've been following you since like Girls of Might and Magic. I've seen your anthologies. I've been told many a time about your Facebook pages. I am not on Facebook. That is a personal preference. I have to protect my sanity. But recently, you had a new book come out and we crossed paths again. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to speak with you. And instead of me rambling, if you could let our audience know who you are in your own words and tell them a little bit about your book that just released, That Girl Who Ran Off and Kissed a Vampire.
Of course. Well, I am K.R.S. McEntire. I believe fantasy is for everyone, and I am the author of the YA dystopian series, The Eden Saga, and the YA portal fantasy that's brand new, That Girl Who Ran Off and Kissed a Vampire. You can purchase my books on KRSMcEntire.com or by looking me up on Amazon. A few of my books, like my new one, is wide as well, so you can get it on any website you would like. And I'm just excited to be here as part of the Written Melanin Podcast.
Yay. And just so you guys know, if you are watching this on YouTube and you see my Melanin Library hoodie, I do want to let you know that K.R.S. McEntire is also listed on this hoodie. So please be sure to go get yours. We also have a mug if you prefer that. But we support Black authors around these parts. And I'm not going to miss
the mug, and I should have brought it to this interview.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And it's dishwasher safe. So there we go. But that being said, let's talk about some writerish things. First of all, let's talk about your process, your writing process, because as indie authors, right, I feel like one of the things that I would love to see more just in conversation is us talking about craft. And I would love to know what your process is like, because this book, this is not your first rodeo. You have a saga, you've done anthologies, like you've been doing this, you've been about this for a while. So what has this process been like for you?
Well, I like to consider my process the hot mess express. No, but I feel like I'm kind of a mix of a pantser and a plotter. Like, I do like outline my stories before I dive in and start writing them, but what I end up with is always completely different than how it started. One of the things that really helps me during my process, honestly, is beta readers. Like usually after I get my first draft done, for all of my Eden books, I kind of did this. I just unleashed people onto the document and let them like rip it apart. And sometimes I'd be getting offended. I'd be like, that's rude. It's like so helpful, honestly, to see ways that your characters and your story is being perceived that might be different than the way you perceived it. Like I know that for one of my books, A Dance of Blood and Destiny, like one of my beta readers like did not like the character at all. And I was just like, well, why? But then I realized like there were a few things I could do to try to make her a little bit more understandable and relatable. So I would say don't skip over the part of having a second set of eyes or something. Look over your story for like plot and structure and things of that nature. So I would say my process, the first part is just the hard part is getting the whole story down. I don't write literally, so I kind of like will start writing, then I'll think of something and go back to the beginning of the book and add it, then go to the end. That's why I call it a hot mess express. But it always turns out okay. And then after I get that first draft down, just letting someone else look it over and tell me like how crazy I am and like why, what are you doing? And so I can actually make it something readable for the public. So yeah.
No, but I mean, I feel like that makes perfect sense. And it's in a lot of ways reminiscent of like what I do for my own writing process for sure, because I have to write linearly. So I applaud you for being able to jump all over the story because my brain still has not figured out how to do that. And I'm like, I have to write the middle pieces before I get to the fun part. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Why am I like this? Right.
Mhm.
But being able to get everything onto the page and then like you said getting other people to just like unleash on it and be like, be honest with me, do you like this, do you not? And I know for me one of the things I always ask is like, hey, did you ever want to just like stop and you were just like, yeah, I'm not into it, and if so, like where, so that I can fix it, right?
Yeah.
But having someone be like, this is what you're doing and this is what I need you to do differently is incredibly helpful, especially once you start to get blind to your document, you know?
For sure, for sure. And you're always kind of a little too personal. To me, I would say to like know what those things are because you're so close to the story. So it's always good to have a second set of eyes, be it an editor, beta reader, somebody else got to look at that before it goes to the public. So yeah.
Absolutely. And so I guess my question following that is this process that you have now, like I know it's like kind of all over the place, but the way you articulate it, it's just like you know what it is at this point. Did you know that from like your first book, or is this something that you've kind of figured out and kind of carved out for yourself over time? Because I know that I've talked to a fair amount of new authors who were just having this perception that like I have to do it this way and my process has to be nailed down during this first book so that I can just repeat this going forward. How was that
I
for you? Is that how it worked?
I think there are a million different ways to come to the same conclusion at the end of the process. So the way that one person does something might work perfectly for them, but not work for other people. I know this is horrible to say, but I know authors they don't have editors at all, and they're
Yeah.
still able to publish books and like do a great job. That's not me. I know I need an extra set of eyes. I need a little bit of help there. I feel like it's really what works personally for you. Some authors have the skill set to like design their own covers and do that. I don't have that skill set. But like I feel like there are things that you can do that someone else might not be the best at. So finding ways you can support each other or lend your skills to someone else. Like for the vampire book, me and another author, we actually kind of swapped manuscripts and kind of beta read each other's books,
Hmm.
and that was really helpful for figuring out the plot holes and her perception of it as well. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And that is definitely something that I for sure stand 10 toes down on. It's just like community and being able to have those people that you can tap and lean on and be like, hey, like let's swap. Because I feel like that's an underrated kind of service, I guess,
Yeah.
in the authoring world, where it's just like it doesn't always have to be a monetary exchange. Sometimes it's a service exchange. Sometimes it's a time exchange. Sometimes it's just, hey, I'm going to show up for you. And later on down the line, you show up for me, you know? Generally, we call that friendship. But, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like we're coworkers or peers and I respect you, you respect me, right?
Yeah, I
But
agree. And I think it's really helpful when you can find people who are willing to bounce ideas off of each other and doing things like that. And even working in community or writing in community can be very helpful. Like I got to be part of a shared world series before, and that was like my first time like writing in community with other authors. And I felt like it was really helpful just to be able to kind of build bonds with other writers as well. So that was when I was in the Eldritch trial. So yeah.
yeah, with Jessica Cage, correct?
Yes. Hmm.
So, slight plug if you're listening to the podcast, go listen to the episode with Jessica because she was on and she did talk about that. So, if you're interested, there we go.
You're, yeah.
But that is something that I haven't had the experience with yet. So I'm definitely curious about how that works and like how that comes about because, you know, writing is in so many ways very isolationist. Like you're by yourself at your computer banging out your story, right? But when you have a shared world, it's just like there are rules and guidelines and things and you're not writing completely in isolation. So what was that experience like on a whole?
think it was really cool just because my favorite part was honestly just getting to know the other authors who were part of the series. Like, I went to this book festival, Imaginarium Book Festival, and we did like a panel about the series together. And a lot of us came back this year to the festival as well. So it was kind of cool to just kind of build on that community and like be able to support each other there as well, even in in-person events and stuff. And I feel like even for anthologies and things like that that I've done, like having more than one author like behind something kind of helps its reach as well.
Hmm.
So we're all promoting this thing together. So that's really helpful as well. And I think one of the reasons I created my most recent anthology, which is called Once Upon a Realm Remix Fairy Tales by Diverse Voices, was specifically out of a desire to find something that I wasn't able to find, which was where are the other indie authors who are writing YA fiction or speculative fiction that also have diverse characters? I'm like, where are we at? Are there other ones of us? So every short story in that anthology is like written by an author who has a YA series, and the stories tie into a series. They take place in the same world of these different series. So it's a way to find community, I think, or find other people doing the types of things that you enjoy doing.
I love that because I know that anthologies, for one, can be tricky. So, slight plug to go pick up Magic in the Melanin if you're listening to
Yes.
this. But I love the fact that, you specifically wanted to work with authors who have other series because one of the things that I think people kind of miss with anthologies, at least in my personal opinion, I'm not the end all be all on it, right? But I feel like sometimes people miss that anthologies are meant to expose you to new authors that you may or may not have heard of or may have come across your radar and you just didn't dive into them. And it's just like a chance to have like a smorgasbord. It's kind of like when you go out and you get a mimosa flight. It's like, yeah, you can try all the different mimosas,
Yeah.
you know? And I think the fact that you specifically said authors who are writing these stories, if you like them, there is already a series out within this world with this magic, with this type of writing style and vibe, and you can go dive directly into it. I think that's really impactful, especially like for me, I'm all about supporting Black authors and helping readers discover them, find them, fall in love with them, support them however we can. And it's just kind of like, yes, like people are doing this. I know that sometimes they don't always pop up on our feed and we don't always like cross paths as often as we would like, but it's just like if there is something that you're thinking about that you want, 9 times out of
Yeah.
10 there is an indie author, specifically a Black indie author out there somewhere writing it, marketing their butt off, trying to figure out how do I get this book into the right person's hands.
Yes, and marketing I feel like is the hardest part, but but we're out here, we're trying to spread the word about all the cool things we're doing, and that's why I'm really appreciative of your website and your podcast, and that you're giving a platform to so many people and getting the word out there. So
Oh, thank you. I It definitely started from like where is everybody kind of feeling,
yeah,
but I'm really grateful for all of the people that I've been able to meet and talk with and all of just the way my own world and perspective has been opened up from talking to people and just getting to know them and their works and the people that they recommend because everybody has their group of authors where there's like this is the circle that I run in that I would like to tell
yeah,
you about. And when it starts overlapping and stacking, you realize just how big this world of indie authoring is. And I love it.
yeah, for sure. Like even just at the book festival, I'm like, oh, I never knew this author existed, but like this is right up my alley. Like going to events like that, things can show you so many people, and just you realize like how many people are doing so many awesome things out here. So yeah,
Absolutely. I have other things that I want to talk to you about specifically about indie publishing, but before we talk about that, I do want to talk about your experience going to festivals because if you guys are not aware, if y'all are not following K.R.S. McEntire online, you should be because she stays outside. She stays going to book events and book festivals and promoting. And as an indie, I love to see it. And I'm just kind of like, one, how do you navigate that both from like the author side, organizing it, right? But then also like what is that experience like for you for maybe any authors who are listening and they're like, I want to do book events, I want to do these things, but they're nervous about it or haven't done it before.
yeah, I would say start local. Really, the Imaginarium Book Festival was the only festival I traveled to because we had a panel about our book series there, and that's how I found out about that festival and fell in love with it. Like it's definitely worth traveling to if you want to, and if you write any type of speculative fiction, especially if you write speculative fiction with diverse characters. But my honest opinion, like for if you're just getting started, would be to find local events. Like when I'm not writing books and publishing, my day job is with my local library system,
Oh,
in their
dope.
communications department. And we have so many like events that local authors can get plugged into, and I'm sure other library systems across the country have the same. For example, we I just did a Juneteenth book fest at the library last week, and that was really fun. I got to meet Michael Treats, and I was super excited about that because I just love him. His social media content is amazing. But yeah, just local events in your community. Look up your indie bookstores, reach out to them, see if they will be willing to let you come in and do a book signing. They might even put your book on the shelf. I've definitely in the past few years have been trying to reach out more to the local community too. I joined like a local writing circle called Indie Writing Coven, which is I live in Indianapolis, so Indy there means my city. And
Hmm.
it's just like people who occasionally meet up around the city and write together at a coffee shop. But it allowed me to meet people more locally. This week I'm going to an event at a library branch, which is a writing circle.
Hmm.
So just finding local events to meet other people in person and get your word out there because I know people like to chase the Amazon algorithms,
Oof.
but honestly, I feel like in-person events you can make a lot more because there's that one-on-one connection aspect. And people like to meet the person they're buying things from. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, that is something that I feel like we could absolutely have a whole conversation on. Mostly because just like as an author, I am one a huge proponent of like Amazon is an outlet. It is not the biggest outlet. It's not, I would even argue that it's not even the most important outlet as an author. I think it's necessary in some ways, but I also think if we're talking about if we're talking about profit, if we're talking about longevity, if we're talking about access, there are so many other ways to promote and market your book that can definitely be effective. And I am a huge proponent of doing like in person events because I know authors, generally speaking, making a blanket statement here, are introverts. They don't like talking to people.
And I am an introvert.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I think, a learned skill, but there is, like you said, that one-on-one connection when you're looking someone in the face and you're like, "Hey, I did this. Like, I wrote this book," and you get to talk about it, and they actually see it, and it's not this distant thing of like, "Oh, what is this?" and then moving on without any like context of the person behind it. I think that is really powerful, especially in 2025 when so much of everything that we do is virtual and disconnected and just kind of like, who is this person behind the screen, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's definitely something that I personally always recommend. And also the fact that you said, do local, because I feel like that's also really underrated. I know that for me, I'm not gonna say pain point because I don't feel like that's the right phrasing, but the thing that I've been having to learn, I guess, in 2025 is to actually do things local because I realize that I do in-person events, but they are so far away from where I actually live, you know?
Yeah. And I live in the Midwest, so there's nothing here. If I drive an hour away, I'm probably in the middle of some cornfield somewhere. So,
Not a
yeah,
cornfield.
pretty much.
But no,
So,
I mean, I get that for sure. And so I'm trying to be more like you. I'm trying to take the advice that you're giving right now. I'm trying to internalize it for myself. Like I need to look around this area and see what's going on and also, making, connections locally because again, for me, a lot of my connections are over the internet and I'm just kind of like, no one is
yeah.
here in the East Coast. Where y'all at?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it though. It's hard to make those connections. Even we're busy. We have lives and families and things like that. So even when you're making time for doing it, it can be sometimes few and far between based on like what you have capacity for that week or day. So I get
Yeah.
it.
So, but that being what it is, if you guys are listening to this, I really, really hope that you are picking up these golden nuggets because this is solid information and guidelines and roadmaps for really how to navigate this indie authoring thing. And a large part of that, like we said earlier, is the marketing. So I definitely want to touch on that because I feel like the indie author pipeline is I'm going to write a book. And then it's like, I'm going to do it myself. And then it's like, I should have thought this through a little bit more,
Yeah.
you know? So I know that indie publishing is a beast and you kind of have to have the right heart and that right mindset to tackle it. But like indie publishing young adult books is completely different. And I know that's a completely unique challenge. And I would love to know more like what your process has been like. And I guess kind of even starting at the beginning of what made you decide that you were going to be like, yeah, I'm going to specifically indie publish my YA fantasy, diverse fantasy.
Yeah, so I feel like what drew me to wanting to publish YA books is just the fact that I fell in love with reading at that age range of like preteen to teen years. I feel like books helped me get through like lots of things in life, just being inspired by the characters and seeing that people can go through like all these things and still come out like on top and still like find their own magic and find their own strength. And so I just felt like when I wanted to write a book, I wanted to write for like that age range, that younger reader, so they can be inspired the same way I was inspired too. I definitely feel like publishing YA as an indie author is its own beast. To add to the top of that, publishing YA with diverse characters is its
Yeah.
own beast. Um, and that was one of the reasons why I actually organized this anthology called Once Upon a Realm Remix Fairy Tales by Diverse Voices. It was specifically to find authors writing diverse characters in indie publishing who write YA. And I found six of us and got and got us to work together and create like what I think is a pretty cool little book that more people should probably check out and get to know some new authors. But yeah, I feel like it's something I'm still trying to figure out. The thing is like a lot of younger readers, like they get their books from schools, bookstores, libraries, and those are places that indie authors are like traditionally kind of kept out of. There's still a lot of gatekeepers in those spaces. So literally actively trying to find ways to increase visibility for those books. I actually kind of have like a project that I started that I really haven't talked about much
Are
because
we getting an exclusive?
yeah, you're going to get the exclusive, I guess. Since so I'm starting a website, but I'm in the very early stages. You know that little social media sound like this was an idea that I had since lunch. And I'm gonna basically that was me 2 days ago when I was like, I'm gonna do it, but I like committed to it. And I literally built a website called YA Indie Books.
Oh,
And it's like really brand new. I literally published it 2 days ago. But my goal is to have a place to like highlight YA books by indie authors
mhm.
um, that's searchable by things that I think like schools and libraries and parents might be interested in while looking for books that they might want to include in their collections.
Mhm.
So, yeah, very early stages of that. But really, it just came from a desire to find more ways to highlight books that are for younger readers. Like it's harder to get seen because most younger readers they're not asking their parents for their a Kindle Unlimited subscription. They might be reading some fan fiction, but they're not
Yeah.
they're they're not getting on Kindle Unlimited or usually getting indie authors. They're either at the bookstore or on the fan fiction website. So
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, it's really just trying to find if you're in any type of genre that's smaller, trying to find community of other authors writing similar things, which if you're a YA author, come hit me up because I'm always reaching out to other people. And sometimes I feel like I'm being creepy because I just be in people's DMs. Like, but yeah. But yeah, just trying to build that community and trying to find a place to amplify those voices.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I am a huge, huge, huge supporter of anything where it's just like, yeah, I'm looking for my people. Like, and I think it's one of those things that for me, especially, you know, living the life that I've lived and, existing in this world as a Black woman and a Black author, so many times it feels like, okay, well, I'm going to build the table. And once the table is here, the people who want to sit at it will come, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you've been looking for the table that somebody else has already built and you're not finding it. So
Sure.
I understand 100% where you're coming from and building the website yourself, because that's where the Melanin Library came from. It was just like, I want to know where the Black authors are. Like, I just want a database of all the Black authors that I can search by genre and age range. And I just didn't see it. And I was like, why? And at the time, I was like, we were like, what, in 2019, 2020 at the time? And I was like, I know
Yeah,
the internet is a big place. What do you mean no one has done this yet?
I get it. Like, I literally, what inspired me to make that site was I went to this author talk locally. An author who makes six figures, like, gave all his lists of like how to make six figures as an author at an event. And I was just looking, I'm like, I'm already doing all these things, and I'm definitely not making no six figures. So I'm just like, I hit him up and I was like, hey, do you have any advice for me? And he's like, well, don't write YA. And then I was just like, but that's almost like if you're a Black writer and someone comes at you and is just like, well, change the race of your characters. Like, you shouldn't, I feel like the demographic you write for
Shouldn't have to change in order
shouldn't
for you
have
to
to
be
change
successful.
in order to be successful. So it's finding a way throughout, like, what writing what you want to write or what you desire to write, but also trying to figure out how can I amplify this. So that's kind of where I am.
I understand. I feel like the hardest thing for, and I'll say this for any author, not just indies, but even with trad authors, having talked to them both, on screen and off screen about the reality of being an author, I feel like there's always this uphill battle with like trying to tap into the market because, existing on the internet and bookish spaces, you definitely see people who take off. There are definitely some that I have in mind. I'm not going to name any names, but there are definitely some books that I have in mind that just like take off. And you're just like, why this one though? Right. And then you have some books where authors are grinding and they're doing the events and they're spinning the ads and they're, showing up and sending out arcs and, doing everything they can. And it just never gets off the ground. And you're like, this isn't actually arguably a great product. Like, why are y'all not flocking to this? Like, the mosquitoes to honey. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's whatever, right? So it's just kind of like that uphill battle. And I think that's one of the most frustrating parts of being an author, specifically a Black author, is one, when, like you said, people tell you, just don't be yourself. Just stop writing what you enjoy and what you want to read in order to make money, because then you have to essentially take the heart out of what you're doing. And it's just like, it's not fun anymore if I'm not writing about my Black girls going on magical adventures and having fun and doing what they're going to do, or
Yeah.
what have you, right? But then it's also like, I need this to be sustainable after
Yeah.
a certain point.
Yeah. I get that. Hmm.
So I feel like I was going to add something else to that, but my brain stopped in the middle of that sentence. So I'm going to let it be what it is. And I also kind of want to follow the marketing bit up with you and talk a little bit about what your experience has been with specifically the bookish community, because you've done events and you've talked about going to book festivals and things like that, traveling, doing local, making your offline community, right? But you're also active online, you know so I guess my question is, like, what has been your experience being in the bookish community? Because we know that they got some drama.
Yeah.
They can be messy from time to time, but they can also be incredibly supportive from time to time too.
Yeah. So I feel like I've had a few little drama bits happen, but for the most part, like 99% of people I come across have been just helpful and supportive, honestly. They were one of the reasons, like, I wanted to publish indie, just because of meeting other indie authors and getting their support and having encouragement by people. There was this little Facebook group I joined before I ever published a book. It was called, I don't even think that group is active anymore, but it was called Black Girls Belong in Fantasy and Sci-Fi Writers. It was like Black Girls Belong in Fantasy Sci-Fi Writers group. And that was like my first group, like chatting with Black women who wanted to write in the genres that I liked. And I remember I actually reached out to Black Girl Nerds because I was working as a journalist at the time. And I was like, can I feature this group? Like, this is a cool thing. And I wrote like a little article about that group and about like Black people writing fantasy and sci-fi. And it was just really cool to yeah, just make those connections. And a lot of those people that I met in that group are now like admins of my Facebook group, Diverse Books with Magic. They were people who were part of the anthology Girls of Might and Magic. I do feel like we've all just been kind of busy like with life and stuff. So, and also the Facebook algorithms aren't what they used to be. So it's kind of hard to um like stay super active, but I do want to eventually do another anthology similar to Girls of Might and Magic or something of that nature with that group as well. So, yeah.
I mean, I love it. I love all of it. The community, the support, the reaching out, the telling other people about it because I feel like that's something that I personally would love to see more from the bookish community is not it's like if you come across something and you're like, "Oh, this is dope." Not just being like, "Oh, I found this secret spot that I can come to." Just like tell
Yeah.
other people about it, right? So I love that paying it forward energy. And also, can we talk a little bit about your Facebook group? Because that is one of like the first things that I found out about you once, our paths started to cross.
So
So,
Diverse Book Club Magic, it's a Facebook community, just a place for anyone who loves diverse speculative fiction. It doesn't have to be YA. There's like a whole lot of genres, and all the admins of the group are like authors writing in these genres. So we all write a little bit of different things. We got someone writing like more horror type stuff and someone writing like spicy fantasy romances and someone writing like just a little bit of everything in there. So no matter what you like to read, definitely come on in and join. We have events occasionally that we host, like at least once a year we do like author takeovers where authors can take over the group and like share their work. We have Friday where people can post their own like works that they're working on Friday to kind of promote themselves and promote their own work. But we also just have like discussions about like different things happening in the book world and the book community. So it's just really a place to a chill corner of the internet to connect with other people. So yeah.
I love it. Are you guys still accepting members? I know that you said that you guys were busy. So,
We're still accepting members. We have about 6,000 people in that group right now.
oh,
So
wow.
it's pretty like it's grown a lot. It's pretty active. We get like a few new posts a week. When I say busy, I just mean like as groups grow, you tend to get more like spam and things of that nature. So it's just like on the administrative side, trying to work on things like that just to keep it more of an engaging community that's more focused on books. Because even though we're all authors, we're not in that group just posting about our own books all the time. We're usually just leading discussions about topics related to diverse books that are speculative fiction.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Dope. Yeah, well, if you're listening to this, I will definitely leave a link to the Facebook page down below if you guys want to check it out. And I feel like, again, there's so many things that I want to talk to you about because I feel like there are so many things that overlap because building a community online is a whole other beast, you know? I've definitely run into my fair share of challenges with the Melanin Library community. And if anyone has been listening to the podcast or the YouTube channel for any length of time, they'll know that in the beginning I was like, hey, there is a Discord server that is for Black writers and anybody can join, but it's invite only to make sure that it's a safe space for Black authors, right? But it's free to get into, right? And I remember trying so hard to make that community work and make it last and to help it grow and for it to really be, like you said, a chill corner on the internet where it's just like, we're here, we're together, but we're also like thriving and growing. And ultimately, I think I made the decision earlier this year to be like, yeah, I'm just going to disband this group because it is not working. Right. But it was a huge learning lesson for the community that I have now with the Melanin Library. That this one is paid. It's behind it. If you join our membership, right, $5 gets you in. You get access to our Discord server that has all of the things, right? But it's like, oh, I see what I did the first time, and I'm like, oh, there's some lessons learned, some things that grew, and I'm like, okay, we got this. We're going somewhere with this. And so I know that, with the Facebook group and it being as big as it is, share all that to say that I fully understand where you're coming from, being like on the admin side of things, trying to navigate and organize and coordinate and kind of supervise. I put that in air
Yeah.
quotes if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
That many
And
people is
honestly, if
hard.
people are interested in just building that community, like there's things that we used to do in the group that's kind of fallen off. Like we had a monthly book club where we would invite authors in and interview them in the group. We had some really amazing authors do our book club, like the author of Lore of the Wilds. And we even had Kimberly Lemming, like she came into the group and I was really appreciative of that. Like it was so fun to get to interview her and talk to her. But like a lot of things fall to the wayside because all the admins are busy. So I think it's probably a process of like rebuilding that group, finding people who have the time to invest in it and like create cool events like that again. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I've definitely learned that you have to have the right people around you. No matter what you're doing, whether you're building a community, if you're, writing a book, publishing a book, marketing a book, anything really within this bookish community, authoring community, you really do have to find the right people. It makes everything's so much easier, whether you're writing and need feedback, whether you're marketing and need someone to repost or reshare, or you're trying to get interviews and things and you're just like, hey, I have a friend who knows someone who can get me in touch. So it's like, as you said, you sliding into the DMs isn't like, hi, I've never
Yes.
talked to you before.
Yes. Yeah,
So
I did that to like Jill too, and then I met her at the book festival, and she was probably like, "That's that girl who creepily messaged me on Instagram." So, but yeah, it's cool to do that to meet people you connected with. So,
yeah. And in your defense, I don't think it's creepy personally. Because I
okay.
think one of the things with authors, especially since we are so spread out, especially if you are trying to connect with other Black authors in the same genre, that could be so niche down sometimes where it's just like, hey, I'm going to shoot my friendship shot with you. You can
Yeah,
completely
I was
ignore
like a
me.
black girl writing dystopian. Woohoo! I love a
Exactly.
dystopian book. So,
That is definitely how I ended up friends with Tatiana OB.
Mhm.
She just messaged me one day. She was like, hey, we write the same thing and the same genre. And at the time, I had like a little I voted in Dallas County sticker on my profile. And she was like, I think we are not too far from each other. Would you like to hang out? And I was like, I actually just like 3 months ago moved across the country and I don't live there anymore. But it still worked out. And I'm like, if she had never reached out, that our whole friendship would have never happened in the first place. And it's definitely one of the things that I'm most grateful for in my life as a whole, but definitely as an
Yeah.
author.
She was actually my editor, one of my editors for That Girl Who Ran Off and Kissed a Vampire. She did a great job giving feedback of the book. So,
Oh,
yeah.
she's fantastic. So, slight plug for the services of Tatiana OB. If you need a developmental editor, go to tatianaob.com and hire her. She's also my developmental editor for We Are Dying Gods. And I have told the story before, but one of the reasons why I love Tatiana is because she was like, so this may break our friendship, but I'm going to be honest with you. And she was like, you need to rewrite it. And I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. But I was like, thank you for being honest with me. And
Yeah,
I feel like that is her strength. Like, she's going to be 100% honest with you and do her best to bring your book up to your best potential. So,
for sure. Hmm.
slight brag on having awesome friends. But that
Yeah.
being said, I do want to ask you what kind of advice you have for authors who are specifically looking to write in like YA age range, but specifically Black fantasy, because that's who listens to the podcast.
Okay. I would say, honestly, I think for younger audiences, it's even more important to connect with your local community. Like I said, a lot of younger people get their books from schools, libraries, bookstores. They might not be getting things on KU. So see if you can find an event that's at a local school that teachers or parents might be willing to purchase your work. See if you can host an event in a local bookstore or something of that nature to help get the word out there about your programs. Connect with your libraries. See if they're willing to include your book in their collection. I do know it can be I as an indie author, I know it can be hard and discouraging sometimes reaching out to these places because a lot of times it's really hard to get a response sometimes, but I would say just be persistent on in that avenue as well as the traditional avenues that like writers who are writing for an older audience are using to get their work out there. Like I still have an author newsletter, I still have some of my books in KU, but like I also think that you have to be mindful of different things when you're writing for younger readers as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. And then I normally ask this question last, but I kind of want to follow up with this one. And that is, what writing advice would you give to any new authors in general, starting out on their writing journey? Like they're listening to this and they're like, I want to write a book, but I haven't started yet. And it's just like, they're at the very beginning, first step of their journey. What advice do you have?
I would say make an outline and set goals for yourself that are mini goals because write a book can be like a big goal. Like, oh, someday I'll write a book. But if you can say, by next month, I will write the first chapter of this book, and that will be my first goal. And then start small is another advice I could give someone. Like maybe you don't want to start with writing an entire novel, but maybe you can find an anthology that has a topic that you're interested in and you want to write a short story and submit it to an anthology. And that could be your first little taste of the publishing process and working with an editor and connecting with other writers, joining anthologies, joining writing communities. That would be my suggestion. And if you really want to start with a book, break down that process into like smaller achievable goals.
Absolutely. What is that famous saying that a book is written one word at a time? So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
break it down. And last question, and that is, of your writing and all the things that you've written, if you could choose what lasting effect that your work would have on people, what would it be and why?
I guess I just want people to feel seen and know that they're not alone. I know book characters can like inspire people even when they're going through like the darkest darkness, just watching someone overcome it all. So it just shows people that anything is possible. So I would love for people to feel seen and to see that people like them can overcome obstacles and achieve the things they want to achieve. So, yeah.
I love it. I support it. And I just I'm so happy and content with this episode. But that being said, please let the people know where they can find you on the interwebs.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at krsmcentire.com. I'm pretty much that at all the social medias. I'm on TikTok as well, though I never post on there. I'm really bad at TikTok. And then, yeah, I'm on Facebook at K.R.S. McEntire Author, or you could join. I actually have like a little author Facebook group that I just started that's like K.R.S. McEntire's Bookish Besties. So it's very small, about 200 people in it right now, but, and also the bigger diverse books with magic community as well.
Awesome. So you guys know that there will be links to the things wherever they go. But that is it for this episode of the Written Melanin Podcast. If you'd like to support this episode, then please share it with someone that you think may enjoy it. Join our membership on the Melanin Library website. Grab a copy of my books from my website, cmlockhart.com, or donate to the podcast so that we can continue making content for you guys. There are links in the show notes and or description box for everything. And thank you again for listening. So until next time, you guys, I hope all your books are full of melanin.